Welcome to another episode of Black Fathers Go Further. I am your host, Marty Nice, aka Big Malcolm. My guest today is my brethren, V.A. Vaughn Anthony Stevens. Yes, you might know the sexiest man alive, but I know the sexiest brother alive. You guys look at John Legend and read those People magazines. Let me tell you something. Take a look at his younger brother, Vaughn Anthony. This is my man. He's been on the road with us for years. You know, he's a wonderful father. He started at a young age, and he's here to tell his story, shed his light, help uplift the community, as this show is all about that, of course. And I found the right brother who's on the right path, who's done some things good in his life, done some things bad. And we're just going to share and talk about it. And for you younger fathers that's been asking me about getting another father on the show that had a child as a teenager, here we go. Vaughn Anthony. So before we get into the topic, let's introduce him. VA, say what up to everybody.
Hey, what's happening, Marty Nice, man? Thanks for having me on your show, man. It's a beautiful thing that you're doing, and I'm glad I could be a part of it, man, for sure.
Hey, let me tell you something. First of all, as I said, this is John Legend's younger brother. Now, I am the youngest, a younger brother in my family. And to this day, and I'm going to say this to start the show, January or February 2008, Super Bowl in freaking Detroit. You were on the road with us. You and Kev. Civil war breaks out in limo. Ron Stevens, the oldest, against Vaughn Anthony, the youngest. The Steven brothers are fighting. John's trying to referee and break it up. They wouldn't pay him no mind, right? I jump in, of course, and separate them. Till this day, everybody blames this young man, Vaughn Anthony. That night, I remember as clear as day. I was the only one that said, this is not Vaughn's fault. Vaughn didn't do anything wrong. We told him to wait at this spot. We set it up. Because it didn't work out well, we all lost track. We blamed him. I said that because I'm a younger brother, and I know younger brothers always get the short end of the stick. We're always at fault. So to this day, I never forget, and I had to tell you, I stuck up for you that night because I felt they were wrong. You weren't. I remember that shit. Okay.
Yeah. I remember you had my back. I remember.
Yeah, no doubt. I was pissed because I'm a younger brother. I was like, wait a minute, are y'all not listening? We told him all this stuff. He wasn't there. Well, he always trying to do this. No. See, but all right, that's a whole other conversation.
Hey, little younger brothers unite, baby.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna change the podcast. So speaking of younger brothers, what's it like being now the youngest brother of one of the most famous men in America and sexiest?
It has its perks. You know. Obviously, you have a famous brother who has a lot of money, a lot of pull, so that's a perk. As an artist, it was horrible because, you have a brother who has a voice that's similar to yours, and he has a position to where people know him. And so for me, with a similar voice and me trying to get into the game, I mean, it was a no-go, So that was the difficult part of it all. But it's a cool lifestyle, man, for sure.
Yeah. I remember you on the road with us. I remember you opening. I remember doing your own shows, and they were electrifying. You had the girls going crazy. I ain't gonna lie. I was like, this brother's on the right path. But I remember that was one of the issues. He sounds too much like John. He's this, he's that, he's John. All his music was good. But, it's hard to navigate that road when you have a successful older brother in that lane. Like, that's a hard thing. But you were doing your thing, brother. I ain't going to lie. And the best part of that, on the come up, as a musician, working out of Springfield, Ohio, doing whatever you had to do, at 19, you had your first child. Now, tell us, what was that like? How did you find out? And what was your mindset moving forward?
I was childish at the time, definitely. When my wife, who's been my wife for 19 years, she told me she was pregnant. It put me in a position, I was like, oh, okay, I'm having a baby, Was I excited? No, I wasn't excited. Was I mad about it? I wasn't mad either. I was just in a place of like, hey, having a child. And so, being at the age of 19, looking at my son, and he's 19 now, just seeing how unprepared he is in certain areas, how immature he is in certain areas. And then I get to think about myself being that same way. And then now, you know, I had a child that, me being unprepared and immature, not having my own house, not even having a job, you know, not even having a career to focus on, you know, for a child to come into that life, it's a difficult thing. And so me being a father, it was a difficult thing. And me being not even a man yet, I would say, trying to raise a child, you know, in an immature state, it's difficult, you know, it's very difficult.
That's interesting. You say that watching him now at 19, like you see all the maturity and the things that he's lacking. Are those some of the things that's how you were at 19, the same way?
Yes. Yeah. I was very immature. You know, again, I had no home to bring him into. I wasn't married. I had no job. I'm fresh out of high school, you know, no direction on whether I wanted to go to college, you know, so on and so forth. So yeah, it was a very tough situation looking back at it.
Now, let's fast forward to 19 years, which is right now, because what I see is an amazing relationship between you and Tavon, which is your firstborn. You guys almost are like brothers. y'all look like brothers. But you really guide him. Like he's out here in LA trying to do his music thing, and you're up here like you're on top of him. You're monitoring the process. You're keeping him motivated. You're making sure he stays in shape, stays focused. You're giving him everything that a parent is supposed to give their child. And I commend you on that, because that takes a lot, because you do have other children, and we'll get into that later, but it's like you flipped the script. You looked at him and saw what was lacking when you were that age, and you're making sure that you make up for all that, and he has everything he needs to move forward. Is that true?
Yeah, yep. You know, and Malcolm, like being a father, there's no handbook to show you how to be a father. You know what I'm saying? And it's a learning process as you go, you know. And for I wish my father, even though he was there for us, being that him and my mother separated, my mother left us, and my father held, you know, it was basically the opposite of you know, the standard of the Black community, where the father sticks there. My father being an example of a provider, I wanted to, you know, do that same thing, but I wanted to be more involved, because I feel like we as the Black community, we fail our children because the status quo in the United States is let them go at the age of 18, you know. But again, when I look at my son and I think about myself at the age of 19, 20, even, you know, I would say when I got 28, 30, you know, there was still some things, decisions that I were making that weren't sound decisions. And
Right.
so my objective in being involved in my son's career and my son's life is to be there as long as possible. I don't knock LeVar Ball for how in tune he is and was in his children's life. I think we need more of that, because it helps our children in the long run. And so me being sacrificing my job, sacrificing the things that I wanted to do to be here for my son, I felt like it was necessary, because you and I both know we dealing with a lot of wolves, you know, in this industry. And you know, I just want to be there, to support him and hopefully guide him in the right way.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you already are, because he definitely looks up to you. So it's like he's making sure he wants to make sure you're proud and happy. And we talk a lot, and he's really excited with you being around him like this to help guide him. Like y'all all been on tour with us before, and Tavon has grew up with us. I remember when he couldn't even talk, and now he's a grown man. And it's nice to see all this happen, because now it's like looking at you, but it's like you're still here and he's here. Like, it's a beautiful combination, man, because like you're on him, like you guide him, you enforce the rules, and he follows, and he's such a disciplined young man now. I remember Tamon acting all wild back in the days. I was like, oh, here we go. Now all of a sudden this brother is like focused and dedicated, which is a good thing. And that's a testament to, to your upbringing with him, of him. Now, how many other kids do you have?
I have 3 other children. Yep.
And
Yep.
what are their ages?
I have a 14-year-old daughter, and 2 9-year-olds. my third child, Aiden, he'll be 10 in April. And then my youngest, Taylor, he'll be 10 in July of 2020.
Nice.
And my daughter, man, she'll be 15 in April. I'm like, man.
Trinity?
Yep, Trinity be.
That's crazy. Yeah. So after having Tavon, then you had your other children. How were you different as a father when they came along, opposed to when Tavon came along?
Still immature. I would say it didn't click on the importance of my actions, the importance of how to be a father, I would say until 34. I'm 38 now. About 33, 34 years old. It didn't click to me how my actions, the type of information I fed them. It didn't really click to me that I need to be mindful of how I present myself, how my wife presents herself until 33, 34. And I kind of see where Kanye's going too with some of his mindsets as far as, I don't know if you've seen the clip of him and Kim on TV and how he was reprimanding her on her attire and how he's trying to, he wants her to be a standard for his daughter, and I sympathize with him, and I understand where he's coming from in that aspect, because after you get a certain age and you receive certain knowledge, you start to see that your actions affect your children. And yeah. So that's where I'm at with that.
So you said you didn't see that until about 34, 35?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Looking back now, if there was one thing outside of you had mentioned the word immaturity and not just really caring or knowing whatever. If there's one thing you could change now, looking back at it when you first had Tavon and then Trinity, what would it be in terms of being a father, being a provider?
Nothing. I wouldn't change anything, because it's the actual journey, the growth, from not knowing anything to growing, what makes me into the person I am today, and without living and experiencing certain things, then I would have never learned. And so if I would say I would take something away, there's always something that, that's always there.
Yeah. Absolutely. I have there's a man up here, and I'm gonna have him on the show, I think at the turn of next year, young brother out there. He's like 21. And when I met him in April, he was about to have his first baby, and he seemed like mad nervous, like didn't know what to do. Just, you could tell he was going to be a good father, but he didn't know how to put himself in that position to be a good father. So what type of advice would you give someone who's that age, 21, about to have a child, but scared as shit?
What advice would I give? Get with the elder. And someone who has had several, children, successful children, children that you want to see your children as, so yeah, and sit down and get some advice from them on what to do and what not to do. Because I think within the Black community, we have forsaken each other. The youth have forsaken the elders, and the elders have forsaken the youth. And I think now more than ever, we need to come back together and begin to speak on certain things and certain issues. But there's a huge divide that we need to fill. And I think, it's nothing better than to have someone with experience on being a father to talk to, and somebody that has, some years, not somebody who's just been in the game for 5 years, because, because there's different steps, there's different stages, there's that stage where they're young and you give them the world, you basically let them bully you because they're so cute. And, but then you like, oh shoot, I've been teaching them the wrong way, because once you get to 5 and 10, it's another stage. And then you get to 10 to 15, it's another stage. And so, yeah, you want to get with somebody who has, some, a lot of children and some type of length of time under their belt dealing with children.
That's very interesting and important that you mentioned those stages. from 5 to 10 and 15, and you feel like, oh, I'm doing this wrong, I'm doing this wrong. But there's stages, people change in life. That's interesting. But what you touched on, I want to talk about because it goes a lot deeper than just Black parenting. You talked about the divide, which I agree with, but where do you think that whole divide came from? Like, how did it all start, and why is it here?
Ah, man. I mean, this could be we can go so many different places with this. Um, this started in the, in the 60s, 70s, when we talk about Section 8, where basically the U.S. government would give Section 8 housing, but there will be only one stipulation, is that the father would have to be removed out of the household, you
Right.
know. So that is like the root and the foundation of separating, the Black family. And then you have to also think about a lot of selfishness between, people, because now you have um, a system that we follow, a social system that we follow, that we didn't follow in the early 1900s, because we were all about community, we were all about unity. And this is at the time of segregation. All right. But when we integrate it, that's when you start to see the divide, because now we're dealing with more social issues than the root cause of us sticking together from the beginning. And so we've allowed social issues to separate us. And one of the biggest things I feel like that it annoys me the most is the fact that, we're dealing with this the separateness of the male and the female, the Black male and the Black female, and how Black women feel like, they're by themselves. But in all actuality, we're both in this struggle together, and we have to stop allowing social issues to divide us. And so I think that's the biggest issue going across the board, even including the separation from us and our elders.
That's right. I totally agree with everything you just said. That whole the social aspect of it and how we're divided. But we're stubborn on each side. A lot of elders are stubborn, and the youth, they're definitely just stubborn by nature. Like, you
Right.
only learn through trial and error. The only way you learn about life is to actually live life. So it's hard for the youth to actually come around. Some are special, but most of us have to actually go through that process. And then you have the elders that been through it, are tired of it, don't want to hear that bullshit anymore, so they become stubborn. Real talk. I'm getting there. How do we bridge that gap? Like, how do we get the stubborn youth and the stubborn elder together?
I mean, conversation has to be had. Conversation has to be had. Um, and then, we have to skip down and go to a younger generation, to the youth. I say, 1 to 5 year old, to teach them how important elders are. You know, but our culture is fucked up right now, Marty
Yeah.
Nice. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of pollution out there where you know, uh, uh, we disregard our elders. We don't give a damn anymore, man. It's really ridiculous. And so it just has to be, a conversation has to be made, and a plan has to be set in place to where we begin to unite as a people, unite as young people and older, Black male and females.
What? How old is your youngest? 10?
Yeah, they'll be both 10 in 2020.
What's the difference? How do you raise? Now, how many girls you have? Trinity, you have 2 girls, right?
Just one.
Oh, you just have one. Okay, so all boys. How do you? How is it like raising? Well, Tavon and Trinity are almost close in age. So how is it raising them in terms of, you have a boy and a girl? Like, how do you raise them in terms of navigating through life, knowing their different sexes and all that stuff? Like, how is your talk with Trinity? How is your talk with Tavon in terms of just life in general?
It's the same. I'm straightforward, very disciplinary. I'm strict to a certain extent, but she can get it just as much as he can get it. When it comes to punishment, as she's gotten older, if it's a whooping or whatever, her mother will discipline her, because of, her getting older, but as far as the tongue lashing and me giving them the business, they all can get it. And so there's really no difference. But obviously, the conversation is with my son, you're not going to be out here chasing girls. You're going to, stay focused. Let's get you a house. Let's get your own money. And then you can talk about, dating women, because that's what I feel like we lack. There was we did a lot of things on our own, and I'm specifically thinking about myself,
Right.
because my father wasn't on me like I'm on my children, and like now that I wish he would have been. There's some decisions that I've made that really, that put me in a position to where I had to fight uphill with some weights on my back, and so I'm
So,
trying to prevent that for my children.
so what clicked for you? I know you said around 34, 35, but was it a life experience? What was it that clicked, since you didn't know better because you didn't have anybody on you like you wanted your father to be? What made it click so you became that stern father to stay on your kids?
Um, I fell into some information, about how, a black man and a black woman in a community is supposed to conduct themselves, and so that information opened me up to a new world of how to navigate, as a father, and so that's what really clicked, man.
Yes. So basically, young black fathers out there listening, you need to fall into some information. You need to research, searching within yourself, search within the community, and like he said, get some elders on your side, find some mentors, do your homework, and just fall into some positive information about how to raise how to raise a child right, how to be a wonderful black man moving forward, and how to set a positive example for your community. Those are very important things that Vaughn Anthony is saying in this segment, and I appreciate you sharing this information because it's important, because I know not just the brother I mentioned earlier, but there's a few out there who are struggling in terms of finding themselves and raising a child. And then the issue that we haven't touched on yet is where they're actually dealing with separation from the mother or the wife, and they're raising a kid, they're co-parenting, but they're having court battles, they're fighting, there's assigned visits, all that stuff. What type of advice do you give to those fathers in those situations of struggling to spend time with their children and provide the right way?
Right. First off, I want to say, if you don't have a child, slow down. We have to gain respect for one another, and what I mean by that is we can't continue to look at our women as objects. We have to be able to love them for their mind, and it's both ways, because our women have to stop allowing themselves to be presented as objects, so that way the men can respect. So it goes both ways.
Woo, I'm going to put this clip out. This is going to be the first 1 minute clip. Go ahead, continue, brother.
And so it's a two-way street, and we got to help one another, and so for the man that's going through a situation to where he's not with the woman, and going through court battles, the best thing is try to find a medium, come to some common agreement with the mother of your child, and do the best you can do. There were times, because I have a child that I had outside of my marriage, and it was a strain, because I'm used to being around my children. I'm used to having my children when I want to, so on and so forth. And so mentally, that's frustrating to me that I can't have my son, at any time I want to. And so it was a growing up process. There was times where I kind of stepped totally back, and didn't deal with it, because there was just a frustration that was built up in me, that I didn't want to do anything out of emotion. You feel what I'm saying? And so I had to step back and grow. And so now we're in a position to where, me and his mother have grown to a place to where we can be mature enough to be able to deal with the situation in a manner to where he can deal with both households.
Excellent. I applaud y'all both on that because I know the story well and I know it was volatile, and I'm glad it came to that situation or at that point because it is all about the child, and I'm glad you guys do see that. So everything's okay now. I love it. That's good to hear. This is like a show of maturity, man. Like, it's nice to see you on this level because the Vaughn Anthony I remember is Tavon. But Tavon now is more mature and grown and focused. But Vaughn Anthony I knew out on the road was just, you were just there. You were just living life. You weren't no wild, stupid kid. You were just young, living life, just whatever. Now you're like, your focus and your maturity is like, it's like an all-time high. You're at your peak, man. I don't remember you like this on the road. I'm going back 10 years. And you only in your 20s, and like you said, it didn't hit you till you were 34. But to see you now, man, you're like, this is the word that not only your sons and daughter need to hear, but like so much of the Black community needs to hear what you said. And particularly the part about Black men should respect Black women more and not see them as objects. And also women should not present themselves and allow themselves to be objects. Like, that's so key, brother. That's so important. And to hear you say that, man, coming from someone I've known you for a long time, like, that's powerful. That's a powerful message. I applaud your maturity, and I see it through Tavon. And it's like, it's great, man. I love it.
Thank you.
So let's do this because my time is up. So now let's talk about, in the last 2 minutes, let's promote your son Tavon. Let everybody know what he's doing, where his music, what's the song, what's the platform, boom.
All right, yeah, everybody. My son Tavon, who we've been calling Tavon, he goes by the name of Tater Prince. And Tater Prince has a song with my brother John Legend, and the song is called "Love One Another." And "Love One Another" is geared around gun violence. All right, there's been 44 in the last 46 weeks of 2019. There's been 44 school shootings. In 46 weeks, there have been 44 school shootings. And so we want to bring light to, to gun violence, and also, what's going on in Chicago and every hood, every hood, there's a lot of gun violence, and there's, and that's just a piece of it, because I can go on and talk about abortion, how that's the biggest killer of the Black community, but that's another conversation. But, yeah, the song is geared towards gun violence. His Instagram is @TaterPrince_. His Facebook is Tater Prince. And 2020, we coming real big, man. I mean, it's nothing. I mean, we got so many people running at us and jumping at us, Malcolm. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And to see a young so-called Black man, 19-year-old, that's passionate about lives and passionate about his community, I'm very excited that I can be a part of it. And I would trade everything that I've done in my life, man, my career, all my music. This is what I want to be a part of. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't ready then. I'm ready now, bruh.
Yes, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Black fathers listening. That's beautiful. There is a beautiful rainbow at the end. You just got to get it. Like Winston Churchill said, listen, in life, if you're going through hell, keep going. You know what I'm saying? Because there's light at the end of the tunnel, and this brother has went through it, and now look at the effects when he comes out of it. Look at him now. Not only is he a strong Black man for his son, he's just a role model, period. He doesn't realize he's a role model yet to more than just his son, but he's a role model, I'm telling you. So Vaughn, I'm going to end it because I got to go, brother, and get this edit out to the producer so I can put that 1-minute clip that you said that I love so much out to the public this week if I can. I want to thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate your time, giving me your moment, running in your car, so you can say what you had to say to the community. This is Black Fathers Go Further, and we're all about finding ways or encouraging young Black fathers to do the right thing, man. And I'm glad Vaughn stretched it out and went beyond just parenting and talked about objectifying and things that we have to do, be better, people towards each other. Like, you really touched on some really good topics, man, that I really appreciate, and I can't wait for the world to hear this. So again, thanks for coming, and just say goodbye to the audience, and we're out.
Hey, thanks, Malcolm, and thank you to your audience. And keep up the good work, man. It's a dope platform, and hopefully it does what it's supposed to do and blow up, man, for real.
Absolutely. That's what's up. And on that note, I'm out, y'all. Let me stop recording. I don't have to do